friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Haley, and today I'm joined by Dustin, who hasn't been on my channel in a while. Since he's back, I think you can assume, and also based on the name of the video, that we are talking about board games again, specifically creepy board games in time for Halloween. So if you're looking for games to play with your friends or even by yourself, we have some solo games here. This is the list for you.
So these are in no particular order. There's 10 of them
that we think are real good.
So the one that we're going to start with is not in this collection, and so we'll just put up a picture for you guys somewhere. Dead of Winter is an excellent horror survival game. It's one that's cool for a group because it's not just about bashing in zombie heads, though that's fun too, but it's about group survival in a more realistic setting. So all the players are in a camp, the zombies are outside on the walls, but you're trying to survive in an apocalyptic setting, so you have to go outside and get supplies, you have to worry about ammo, about power structure, and what's fun with it is there's different story choices that come up in the game, and the players have to vote to see which choice they're going to make. You get different roles assigned to you at the beginning of the game, and one person may or may not be suicidal and decide they want to sabotage the rest of the camp's operations.
Well, that's a good segue to Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
And speaking of being suicidal
and betraying the rest of your friends. So here we've got Betrayal at the House on the Hill, and it's exciting brand new D&D version, Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. So both games are the exact same mechanic. It's a dungeon exploring game, so you're revealing tiles as you go along. And this one, it's a real dungeon and kind of a town. And this one is specifically like a haunted mansion. And with every tile that you explore, new kind of terrors and haunts will come out. As the game progresses, eventually one person will end up betraying the whole entire group, so it'll be everybody against the other person trying to survive. Who will win, good or evil?
The first one has an expansion called Widow's Walk, which we just shoved in the same box here, but that gives you 100 different possible game scenarios. You put that, and if you get this one, you get another 50.
This is one of my biggest recommendations to play on Halloween because I feel like it's a really good party game. It's not like a silly party game, but I think it's great if you have like 5-6 people. It's a really fun game with a bunch of people.
Alright, next up on our list we've got Zombicide. And there are many different versions of this game. I have the Black Plague one up, which is, I think, the better of the two. This one is medieval. The character trays, the cards, components of this one were really, really good.
It's like user-friendly, like it's very organized.
Yeah. Zombicide lets 1 to 6 players play cooperatively, and there's a mechanic that lets the board move the zombies automatically every round. And so they are constantly threatening the players without anybody having to actually play as like a game master. We play through kind of a loose storyline in here, and the game starts easy, but it's very, very difficult by the end. It ramps up a lot. And you can add in other expansions like poison zombies, zombie dogs, flaming zombies, all kinds of crazy things. There's tons of expansions.
Also, if you want to play the same mechanic, but there's something strange in your neighborhood, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters board game. Same thing.
Yeah, but this one's better though.
Next up is one of my all-time favorite games, is Mysterium. So this is also kind of a party-like kind of game. It's kind of like Clue, where there's a ghost and they're trying to give you clues as to who murdered them, how, where. So there's 3 cards. There's the person, place, and the murder weapon. And there's however many psychics, and as you go along the board, you're trying to find out each of those things, and if you guess correctly, you move forward. And your clues are given through very abstract pieces of art. So you'll see art cards like this. Sometimes the ghost has a very, very difficult hand, and you just have to do the best to get your point across. So it can be very challenging, but the game itself is very straightforward, easy to play, and really fun. You just have to hope that the friends that you're playing with understand the intricacies of your mind.
It's very difficult being dead. On the theme of party games, we'll move on right from that to One Night Ultimate Werewolf. The way this plays, it's kind of like a social deduction game. So you're going to need a big group of people, 3 to 10 players, and 1 or 2 of them are going to be werewolves. And it's up to you to decide as a group who those werewolves are. So everyone has a different townsperson role passed out to them. They don't ever say, I'm this person, but you act it out. And then nighttime hits. When nighttime happens, the person who's playing as the keeper, they kind of act as a referee in a way, to make sure everyone's staying honest, activates the characters. So first he says, werewolves, look up. The other characters will be activated. So the robber switches cards with himself and somebody else. The troublemaker switches cards between two players. And then when the morning hits, their characters have changed. And now, once all the clues get laid out, the players vote and see who's going to get killed. They're trying to find which player is the werewolf. If they guess correctly, then the villagers win. If they kill the wrong person, then the werewolves survive to kill again. The werewolves win the game.
I like segues. Speaking of going from day to night, we have Fury of Dracula.
Yeah, well, Fury of Dracula, and it's one of my favorite horror games, and I apologize for us recommending a game which is now out of print. This is a great game of confrontation and mystery solving. So one player plays as Dracula, and the other players are the classic vampire hunters in the novels. You have Mina, Van Helsing, Quincy, and Jonathan are the other two. And it's playing towards the end of the original Bram Stoker novel. So Dracula has bitten Mina and has tried to turn her into his vampire concubine, but he's being chased now across Europe and he has to get back to his castle. So as he travels across Europe, the player playing him plays everything in secret, laying his travel cards face down. And after 5 or 6 turns, they'll eventually flip face up. So the players can see where Dracula has been 5 turns ago. And so they have to use seeing where he's at step-by-step deduction to see where on the map he might be and try to move in a way that they can corner him. They also have to be careful though, because the game switches from day to night every other round. And so if they catch Dracula on the wrong turn and it's nighttime when they get to him.
When he has the power, you want to make sure, even if you know where he is at nighttime, you want to try to strategize and get him during the daytime when he's weaker.
If you can kill enough of his vampires and prevent or kill Dracula himself, then you win. But if Dracula manages to live long enough to create an army of vampire creatures throughout the course of the game, then the Fury of Dracula opens and he survives.
Everybody
and conquers.
dies.
Yeah, conquers Europe.
Another one of my favorites is Legendary Encounters. This one is Alien. It's the same as the standard Legendary deck builder, except there's a little bit more to it. The Encounter version, which you'll see in other movies as well, you go across a storyline, so there's a lot more going on. This one too, they have the theme of the face huggers that'll go into your deck, and then if it gets around all the way through back into your hand and you can't get rid of it in time, then they kill you. So this game is a step up from like Marvel Legendary in terms of challenge, I think. The first time I played it, we made it like 2 rounds and died.
Yeah, this one's more themed on teamwork. Whereas the Marvel Legendary, you are still trying to get the most points and win. This one, you have to work together as a group, and if you don't, it will destroy you.
And it allows you to give each other cards, which is how you really work together.
Right.
There's no victory point win either. It's either you win or you die in this game. So there's
the Game of Thrones.
There's also a Predator version of this, and they can be mixed together as all Legendary cards work together. So you can do a little Alien versus Predator theme as well.
So this one isn't like a board game in the strictest sense, though there is a board game version of it. But if you are into role-playing games, the Curse of Strahd is the best one for Halloween. This one is the Ravenloft setting. It was cool because it brought back the original Ravenloft writer, who did a new take on the character. He went back and put some new details in, played around with some of the things that previous editions had put in there. It's very wide open. Players can run around and do whatever they want. They'll just get trashed if they go the wrong way. But that's part of the fun. But this one is classic vampire gothic horror. The vampire Baron Strahd comes out and is constantly harassing the players. He is a deep character himself, and depending on what kind of players you have, you can change what his goals are in order to make it more personal and more horrific for the players. If you do want more of a traditional board game experience and you're not big on the pen and paper role-playing games, that's fine. There actually is a dungeon crawling board game version of Castle Ravenloft. It came out around the 4th edition era. I know, the dark times, but the board games are pretty fun.
So next up is Cthulhu Wars. Each player plays a faction, I guess, of one of Lovecraft's major elder gods. So you're trying to spread your influence over the land. There's obviously a large map, and you start with just cultists and portals, and then through the portals they'll start calling bigger and bigger elder gods until you get to your final big major guy.
Yeah, it's kind of Risk-like if you're looking for a comparison to more traditional games, in that you're taking over countries.
This game can look really intimidating, especially if you're not like a well-seasoned board game player, but I do want to let you know that in the rules they give you a strategy for every single character, and it does make it a lot easier to play. I think it's worth trying.
Gameplay is pretty straightforward, and the game escalates from very simple to a little more complex.
Yeah.
And as your powers are introduced one at a time through the game, you can learn how to use them as you play. If you like combat and area control games, that's really worth checking out. So we're at the Fantasy Flight Lovecraftian corner of our game review here.
And they're all similar in one way or another, so that's why it's kind of just takes up the slot of one. But hey, cool for you guys, you get to see a lot more games shown off this way.
So Arkham Horror is a cooperative game where a team of players play as different investigators. They're all different, like 1930s style detectives or psychics or dilettantes or whatever, who are all thrown into the game to try and stop a great evil. There's a billion different types of great old ones that can be sleeping under the city. Gameplay variety, it changes a little bit every time, and not just from the number of creatures and things that come out, but it's from player choices. Like every building that's in the town give you different options, can do different things to you or for you. You can become a deputy. You can spend time at the science lab turning in monster corpses for clues. You can join a cult. It's ridiculous. There's so much crap that can happen in this game. It's amazing. They still print it, but they're not making stuff for it anymore because now it has been supplanted by
Eldritch Horror. The big difference is that the map is no longer a city. Now it has expanded into the world. You're getting tickets to travel so that you're not stopped by your movement.
There's a few other little things, like the phases of the moon change up in the corner, the little Eldritch scale, and that determines how some creatures react or how strong or weak they get depending on what their solar cycle is. And there's more of a emphasis on artifacts. It's kind of like an Indiana Jonesy kind of game.
That is the one negative thing I will say about these games, is that I'm getting real tired of seeing the same characters over and over again.
Well, there's some of that, but on the other hand, they do get some familiarity.
Yeah, that's true. You know how
how
the characters are going to work.
Because in the next one we're going to talk about, they recently added Ashcan Pete, who's been in all the games too.
Oh, yeah.
The homeless drifter and his dog Duke. So moving on to where Duke just recently showed up at Arkham Horror.
The card game.
It has some of the same characters and a lot of the same themes and everything, since it's again Lovecraft based. They changed the gameplay a lot for this one.
I was going to say, so when you first told me about it, I was like, that's a waste of money. Why would you get that? And I was very, very hesitant about it. And then we played it, and it feels like a totally different game. Like, it doesn't in the familiarity. It's still kind of the same idea of the mechanics of what you reveal and exploring places and whatnot. But it still plays really differently. Just a new experience.
And this one, it definitely is like a role-playing game experience. You are playing through a storyline. Your characters get experience points, they level up. And this one is in the theme of a serial novel. So you'll play through a storyline up to a point, and then you'll get another chapter pack that you crack that open and play the next chapter of the adventure.
And by leveling up, you get to add new cards to your deck. So your character is always expanding. That's another way that it's changing, is that you're adding more to the game permanently.
Yeah, so your characters get better in their deck, but they also can take permanent damage if they go insane or sustain terrible injuries.
I personally really like that there's always an option that if it's too hard, you can leave. It might do you some damage, but at least you know you're going to survive.
Oh yeah, there's terrible things that happen.
And finally, we have Mansions of Madness. This one would be more compared to Betrayal at the House on the Hill.
A little bit,
where it's another dungeon explorer.
I always kind of tell people when they ask about it, because it is part of the Arkham Horror cycle, as you can see from this little bug. Eldritch Horror is the world, Shrink down the Arkham Horror, the town, and Mansion of Madness is one house.
Mansion of Madness.
Indeed.
The unique thing about this game is that it is compatible with your tablet. So your tablet is telling the story for you, helping you go along with the game, which makes it a bit easier to do a solo game.
Right. It's important that you get the second edition. And this one, they've eliminated that by making it entirely app compatible. So all that setup and everything is done by the tablet. You start with just the house tiles and walk through the house, and it tells you what tiles to put down next. It tells you where the monsters come out at.
And it has like an ongoing soundtrack, so that it provides a little spooky ambiance.
Yeah, it does a good job of actually providing atmosphere for you by putting in sounds and actors and little animations and things.
So that is the conclusion of our official list. But we have one honorable mention that we thought you might enjoy playing.
This one is the real number one.
The real, yes. This is the best board game ever made.
Oh, it's so good. They sold this to children. You're in Freddy's house. It's got, well, it doesn't really look like the house from the movies at all, but it is a house. It's got a study and a garage and the boiler.
We have all these generic little characters who are not based on anybody from the movie other than Freddy. And you move around by, you get these cards with words on them, and you have to make a sentence out of the words, and then however many words you use, you get to move that many spaces, instead of just rolling dice, because why? I don't know.
This game's awful, by the way, but it's so much fun.
Is it? I don't know if it is.
Yes, because it's stupid.
So that's going to do it for this video. Let us know what board games you like to play at this time of year, and I will see you guys soon.